A robber is the devil. It's the devil. It's the devil.
R. Kelly is at the top of the charts, but he may be in for a fall. He was arrested today on 21 counts of child pornography.
Kelly is accused of videotaping himself having sex with an underage girl.
Taking advantage of minors will not be tolerated.
Jurors found him not guilty on all charges.
Robert has said all along he would be cleared of these terrible charges.
Shame on you! Shame on you! Shame on you! Shame on you! Bill R. Kelly! You are Kelly! Bill R. Kelly! You are Kelly! We got a tip that she's here.
She's not.
R. Kelly has denied accusations that he's holding women against their will in a sex cult.
DJ said he loved you so much. I've never introduced her to him. I should have never introduced my family.
He's the puppet master. It was very scary because I knew at that moment I had a secret.
Sparkle is alleged to have received significant payment.
I didn't take the money because I can't be bought. He ain't a monster by himself. It took some help.
I'm just ready to get the hell out of there.
Black women don't get the same recognition as our white counterparts. And I wish that would change.
A grown man, 50-something years old. That's not acceptable, no way. No way.
We have here with us today Bree Miranda Bryant, SVP Unscripted Development and Programming for Lifetime, Dream Hampton, Executive Producer, Kitty Jones, Survivor and author, and also Tamara Simmons, CEO and Executive Producer, the Tamara Simmons Brand Agency. Thank you all for joining us today. Kitty, I'd like to start with you. It's been 6 months since the first episodes premiered in January on Lifetime. At the time, it was Lifetime's highest ratings in, I think, 2 years. The impact was immediate and explosive, and since then, the headlines haven't stopped. What has been your experience over the last 6 months?
It's been overwhelming, knowing that now that the story has gotten so big and it's touched home and started all these conversations and helped so many people. I feel a sense of responsibility. And before I was able to kind of step out and give people advice and explain to them what gave me the courage to come forward, I needed to make sure I was okay. Therapy was very important, and making sure that my self-care was number one. And then in my personal life too, just making sure I was able to separate and have some normalcy moving forward, because it was bigger than I ever imagined. I thought, okay, my story is going to come out, I'll bring the awareness to what's happening to me, and I'll help the girls that are still there, maybe add some validity to the parents' worst nightmares, by explaining to them what happened to me in the house, because they were thinking, I wonder if this is happening to my daughter that's still living there. So by me sharing my story, I did confirm some of their worst fears. So I felt, again, responsible. So just having this platform with Lifetime has been a tremendous help for not just me, but, I think most people involved in it, we just didn't see it, becoming such a big thing, like it has. And it's been overwhelming, as you can see. I'm at a loss for words.
Dream, let's go back to the beginning then. When you first conceive of this idea, you want to put this together. Looking back, after what you've been through now, did you expect the reaction to be like this?
I was brought onto the project. I was invited onto the project. It was Tamara Simmons and Jesse Daniels at Creative and Buna Murray who began talking to first the Savages, who are Jocelyn Savage's parents. Their daughter is still with R. Kelly. He got her to drop out of college at 19 in Atlanta. And she's been with him since. The parents haven't talked to their daughter in years. And so Tamara, she and Jesse, and then eventually Joel, who's the CEO of Creative, which is at Buna Murray, pitched this to Bree. And Bree has a great way of telling this. But she was looking for contact that wasn't typical of what Lifetime had done before. So by the time they invited me onto the project, they were looking for a showrunner. And I came on as showrunner and executive producer. And I began listening to the women's stories in pre-interviews, and I was blown away. I'm 10 years older than Tamara, so I remember not only the 2008 trial, but the 2002 tape of him committing statutory rape with a 14-year-old and abusing her when that went viral, kind of in the streets before there was pre-internet. And I really felt once Joel and Jesse at Creative and Buna Murray told me, and then I talked to Bree, when they told me that this was a very serious approach, that they wanted to do a documentary style approach to this, I was all in. He was my generation's problem to take on, and he had been an open secret. His predation had been an open secret in the industry for, at this point, more than 2 decades. And this is going back to him marrying Aaliyah, of course, as a 15-year-old in the mid-90s, which we found out after Jim DeRogatis reported in December of 2000 wasn't a one-off, that there was another teenager that he had settled with, and she had gotten her to sign an NDA, and then, of course, the videotape in 2002. So I just wanted to treat this very seriously. I wanted to honor and center the women's stories. And then I wanted to surround them, give them the story kind of Christina Marches, so that you'll see a therapist, 3 of them actually, and we were very intentional about casting them. We wanted 2 of the 3 therapists are women, 1 is a man, they're all Black. We wanted to model that. Therapy, sadly, isn't something that a lot of us are even seeking, Yeah, I can probably answer more questions later, but I wanted to take it very seriously. There have been some serious approaches. Jim DeRogatis, again, had been at this for 18 years, and but we knew, this is something that Bree and I talked about. To see them on camera was going to be markedly different from reading it on paper. To honor them, to give them the space, 2, 4, 6 hours sometimes these interviews went on, and to let their stories breathe, and to shoot them with dignity and care was going to be something different than reading it, say, in BuzzFeed.
Yeah, that's what made me comfortable. I just wanted to say it didn't feel like I was doing an interview. It felt like, that they cared about our stories, and even off camera, I don't know if you want me to share this, but I saw her crying in the hallway. She was really invested in making sure our stories were told the right way, and that she knew the delicacy of our stories, and it was real to her. Like she said, she was in the industry during the time that some of it was coming out, and how people were turning a blind eye, and just put faces with the stories at this point. I think it really hit home with Dream, and it made me comfortable. And I walked into the documentary, chin up, legs crossed, thinking I could handle it. I was a little guarded, and then as I started telling my story, I said, it's time to just let the world know what happened. Don't go back, and that's what many of us did. And I owe it to her, because not everybody has that ability to pull those dark moments out of you, especially with cameras rolling.
Tamara and Bree, why was Lifetime the right place to place this series?
Well, I personally we're talking to the survivors and the women and the families, and just the stories that they shared with me, I just knew that Lifetime was the right platform, because Lifetime had always been about women advocacy and like stop the violence and things like that. So that's the reason why I was comfortable with them, but when the survivors were, I kind of knew that, well, this is probably where we need to go, because it's almost like confirmation. Yeah.
Well, what's that pitch like for you when you are getting the idea, the team is coming to you, that there's still victims out there, that they're working with families, that survivors are speaking to the team already? How do you receive that pitch and then move forward? Right?
It was an interesting time because I actually had just gotten to Lifetime, so I was pretty new there. And the Me Too and Time's Up moments broke. And the conversation for us, as a creative team, was what was going to be Lifetime's contribution to that conversation. And Lifetime has been a part of, for 35 years, been a platform for women's voices and a place where, we celebrated unsung heroes. So the conversation was like, how do you create impact now with everything that was going on? And we as a team, we ended up at a place where we were going to do a town hall. And I was the lucky one that had to pitch to our president, and it was basically the first thing that I ever pitched. And she told me to kick rocks. She said, you can do this at CNN, you can do this at NBC, you can do this at all of these other places that are already having these conversations and hosting these conversations. Go do something that says something after the hour is over. So at that point, I called Gil Goldshine, who's the president of Una Murray, and I said, pitch me something you would normally never pitch Lifetime. And he was like, I don't really have anything. I'm like, something you would never pitch us. And he had a project with Creative, which was Joel and Jesse and Tamara. And they came in with just a couple of pages as a treatment. And for those of you on my side of the desk, you know that it's not always easy to get people to read a treatment, that everybody likes the sizzle. It's a little harder to sell when you don't have it, but I just knew that we had to tell that story. So as a senior team, we got back into the room and we decided this was it. And the rest is sort of history in terms of how the green light came about. Everybody was on board. Also at the time, and we should talk about this, there were two or three survivors and two sets of parents, all of which had cold feet. And we were trying to figure out how do you create a platform, as in how do you create a documentary that will help them stop screaming into the wind, which they have been doing for so long. So how do we make sure that they're heard this time? So we did a couple of things. One, we decided to make it a timeline doc, because I'm a firm believer that there's power in numbers. So we took it back to 1970, and we ended shooting last